We just left briefly. We need to pre-record because it's day 15 and Anne is traveling.
I am on a plane.
Yeah. So we don't want to mess with trying to mess with airport Wi-Fi and it's just difficult.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to make it work and make it easier because you're across the pond.
That's right. But not for long. Headed home. Looking forward to it. It's a fun trip, but miss my kids, miss my bed.
My dog.
Yeah.
And having an outlet in the bathroom.
Yeah. And light switches in the bathroom.
What is up with that? How come they don't have outlets in the bathroom?
They're very afraid of electricity, which is kind of funny to me because they will have the inline water heaters, the ones that are mounted on the wall and they heat the water right there. They'll do that, but they won't have a light switch in the bathroom or any outlets in the bathroom.
Okay.
And I asked about it once on my Instagram and they're like, yeah, that's a health and safety thing. That's very, very dangerous. And I'm like, it seems very easy to avoid water just shut it off, close the toilet lid, I know people have accidents and stuff, but to me, I'm like, how many of those were accidents?
Jeez. Okay.
I'm awful.
I didn't even know that was a thing, that there wasn't an outlet So the light switch is just outside the bathroom doorway?
Yeah.
Is that what the deal is? Okay.
Yeah. And in this hotel, a lot of the times it's you can open the door a little, stick your hand out and hit the switch.
Yeah.
That's not in this hotel. It's on the other side of the door. So you have to open and step out into the thing. And
so wouldn't it be a bummer if your spouse or someone didn't realize you were in there and you're doing your business and someone turned the light off on you?
You're come on.
Or you're in the shower and someone turns the light off accidentally. Well, hopefully not, but
you'd think they'd hear that. But yeah, it's just an inconvenience. I just wish it was not done that way, but whatever. The whole country disagrees with me, so I'm not going to win this fight.
That's all right. Well, tell us what you did.
So today was the day that we went down to Topsham, not sure how it's pronounced. It's a small town just south of Exeter on a big estuary, not far from the ocean, but it's all, reeds and birds and everything. And it's marshy. It's where my husband's grandfather served in World War II. He was one of the people who prepared the vehicles for the Normandy invasion.
Wow.
So he was a mechanic. He was a large truck mechanic before the war. And then he actually was exempted from the war. He didn't have to go to World War II because of his job. And he went and signed up, volunteered to do it. And that's what he was a mechanic all through the war in Topsham there. And my husband was talking to him last time he was home visiting. He's 104 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, super cool. And my husband was talking to him and he started talking about the pub that he and his friends would go to, and remembered the name of the owner, the street it was on, all this stuff. And we're like, well, we will go. This time we will go see this pub. Found out a few days before we went that the pub actually had burned down in 1971.
Oh, no.
And they rebuilt it.
Oh,
so
good.
The outer structure is pretty much the same, but the inside is
not
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so we went, we found it, we had some lunch and we talked to the people who were working there, and they thought it was cool, but they didn't know anything, they're 25, so
yeah.
But it was cool to stand there and, be outside and see what he saw and get some pictures of the streets and stuff that he would have taken to go there. And my husband called him and was talking to him about it some. And he's normally very, very lucid, but his mind was on something else today. So he wanted to talk about the other thing. We're like, Grandpa, we're here. But he was thinking about other stuff. So we got lots of pictures, talked to him about it later. So.
That's all right. You got to cut him some slack. He's 104.
He's 104. We're very understanding with Grandpa.
Yes. 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 My husband's father, he passed away 2 years ago, and my husband comes from a large family. He's the seventh of eight children. And so his father was well into his 40s when he was born. But the point is that Bill was a World War II. He's a World War II. He was a fighter pilot on the USS Hornet, and he was 101 when he passed away. And his memory was kind of horrible at the end, except for he remembered everything about the war like it was yesterday, and he had all kinds of same kind of thing, all kinds of stories, and pretty amazing.
Yeah. So as we were walking from the train station to the pub, there were 4 charity shops along the way. And I get so excited about charity shops here because normally it means knitting stuff, vintage knitting stuff.
Oh.
So very excited. And when we were done, we hit them all on the way back.
And Adam was okay with that?
Well, he was doing some work phone call. It was a work day for him. So he was doing emails and phone calls and stuff. So the first one was a total jackpot. And then the other 3 didn't have anything. So I have some things to show that I found while I was there. And let's see, I'll start with this one. This is Odom's Big Book of Needlecraft, which some people might be familiar with. This is an original copy.
Oh my word.
Yeah, they can go as much as, I've seen them as much as 50 pounds. So $60, $70 on Amazon and stuff. The cover's a little loose, but it covers any needlecraft. So knitting and crochet have a section, as well as embroidery and sewing, tons about sewing your own clothes. It's an amazing book. You can see how thick it was. It was £4.50. So $6, $7. Wow. I was like, yoink, this is coming home with me.
For sure.
Okay, so this is my last thing. And when I brought this up to the cashier to pay for it, he was like, what is this? And so I told him, I was like, well, this is a knitting gauge. It's a gauge for your knitting needles. And it's actually, it has the old numbering system. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, yeah.
So the big one is 1 and the smallest one is 16. So it's not the oldest symbol because that was just the wire gauge sizing, but it's the intermediate British one. And then he's like, what is this for? And I was like, well, that's for checking your gauge. That's a 1-inch square. And I had gloves on, so I showed him how you can count. And he's like, what is the duck? And I was like, I actually don't know. I am stumped on that one. So there's a duck and a flower. And if anyone knows what those are for. And then there's these curves here that I think were probably just for drawing, if you were doing a pattern or something, maybe those curves helped.
Okay.
Because it's called the Knit and Sew Time Saver. So it's not just knitting, it's for sewing too.
So what are on your right side, on your right hand?
This side?
Yeah, at the bottom corner, there's that sharp pokey outy bit.
Yeah, that's the edge to put on. That's a hard edge for when you're measuring.
Oh, okay. And then what's
that?
So I get that part, and the pointy parts that are cut out.
These points, I think, so on patterns, when you're making patterns, you can make little triangles as you're cutting to help match them up.
Okay.
So I assume that's what those notches are for too. But maybe my daughter does an awful lot of sewing. So maybe she'll be able to help me with the curves and things. Right. All I can think with the duck and the flowers, to help you, if you're making it pretty and you want to add a duck, you can trace it and then embroider it. I don't know.
So is there a brand name on there?
It just says Knit and Sew Time Saver, designed by Woman and Home. Woman and Home.
Okay.
Maybe that was a magazine. Maybe this was a giveaway with a magazine. Have to Google later.
Okay.
So anyway, that was our adventure. It was 2.5 hours down, 2.5 hours back by train. Okay. So that's why I was able to get mostly caught up with my stripes.
So we'll have another chicken report tomorrow.
Yes.
when you're home.
Yeah.
After
I'm
you've
hoping
gotten,
it's totally caught
you've got
up
plain knitting now.
because I got plain knitting. So yeah, it should work.
Okay, so we're on day 15.
Should we do this? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see green. Whoa. Okay. I think yesterday's, okay. I think that's the strawberry.
Good.
And I think this is the caterpillar.
Caterpillar. That would be my guess.
I love that green.
Isn't that cool?
It's a whole lot of different greens in there.
That's neat.
Okay. Girl in her wool.
Day 15.
Nice.
Da-da-da. Love it. Oh, I love the moody. Oh, it's even darker.
Yeah, it got even darker. There's still like a punch of peach up by your hand though, isn't there? Or did it just shine weird?
No, it's just, more of a purple. So this is 14 and now this is 15.
Nice.
Look at that. Oh, me too.
Like it a lot.
So now if you wanted to see 13, 14, 15.
So cool. So do you have any of that turquoisey blue? Is any of that left in the new skein?
Only a tiny bit.
Just a little flavor. Oh yeah, right there at the tip, huh?
Just a little bit.
At the bend.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. I wonder if like that's as dark as that's gonna get, or if there's like one even moodier.
I hope so. I love it. So I've been posting on my Instagram, the day that it is, and then trying to fit in the whole thing.
Yeah, I saw the other day you did like the whole picture of
from
all
day 1 through whatever it is. I've been trying to show the whole progression.
Yeah.
So, fun. All right.
Awesome.
British Explorers.
Oh, yeah. I was ready to say goodbye. I'm like, see you, everybody.
Oh, no. We have
2 more yarns. What's wrong with me? Okay, I got everything out. Okay. Let's see. Okay, first I'll hold it up. Whoa, this way. So it's sort of a light oatmeal-y color.
Nice.
Very fuzzy. And it is North Ronaldsay. And there is a Christmas pudding, a plum pudding, figgy pudding, or a Christmas pudding. I'm not sure. She doesn't specify. It looks like a Christmas pudding. I'm so impressed by the drawings.
I am too.
Okay.
And that's an Erin.
Yeah, this one's Erin. I wouldn't call it. She even says more of a DK. I was going to say it doesn't seem very Erin-y to me. All right, North Ronaldsay, Erin, more of a DK. Spun in Cornwall by the Natural Fiber Company. Very well-known company. On the RBST vulnerable list with 500 to 900 of the breed in the UK, an endangered sheep breed. North Ronaldsay sheep are probably best known for eating seaweed. That's how I've heard of them. Okay, I just started following someone on Instagram who has these sheep, and she's always posting pictures of them eating seaweed. They are potentially the earliest ovines to arrive in Britain. They are well suited to island life, living on the northernmost island of Orkney. They are used for meat and fleece. They have a slightly hairy wool, but soft hairy like the Wensleydale. Okay. A little bit scratchy next to the skin, but soft enough for a jumper. I agree with that. It's not super itchy, but you can tell it's wool. Slightly softer than the Tordew badger face. I still love that. You mean
Torthey?
Torthey, sorry, the Torthey badger face. Staple length 4 to 8 centimeters, so not super long.
No, that's not at all.
Short, like 2 inches.
Yeah,
1 to 2 inches. No, 2 to 3 inches. This yarn would be good for vests, socks, and jumpers. Maybe hats. The jury is out on that. And then she says, I'll have to try a headband in it. Stitches hold well off the needle. Great stitch definition. The color changes slightly, so you have a lovely mixture of fawn and white coming through, and the stitches lie flat. So there it is.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
It looks pretty squishy.
It really does have, like, I don't know if you can see through here. It has some nice tonality to it.
Mm-hmm.
The different shades.
And fuzz. Yeah.
Buzz. Yeah, it's a nice fuzzy one. Okay.
So I have day 15 is from Murky Depths, and we have an interview with her today. And this is also from the Chautauqua Wildlife Refuge.
She was very interesting to talk to. She came to Yarn Dyer sort of roundabout way.
Debbie from Murky Depths. So we have that interview coming up in just a moment. Ooh, nice. Look at that.
Oh, wow. I love that blaze of orange. That's amazing.
Wow.
And it has the yellow from yesterday too. That
Right. So
yellow.
if you looked at this next to yesterday's, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very autumnal.
Yes.
Yes. Nice.
Very nice.
Very nice. So
I'm
this
curious
is from,
to see what the third one's going to be for that set.
right. Murky Depths Dyeworks. They're on Etsy, and I'll put the link to that down below. There's her card. All right. So we have, wow. Check out the cartoon. Can you see that in the card? Look at the dragon, and there's little people on the dragon.
Cool.
Is that a dragon? That's like a,
I think it's a catfish.
Or yeah. Wow. Okay. And look at the ships and stuff. That's really a cool business card. Cool. I'm just saying, that's neat. Okay, so we have that interview with her coming up next.
Awesome.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're doing well. We're pre-recording. It's actually November, but by the time viewers see this, it will be December 15th. So you're day 15 with the Chautauqua National Forest, your contribution to the National Parks Countdown calendar. So welcome. It's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you both.
Very good to meet you, Debbie. Debbie, we wanted to start by asking you how you got into being a yarn dyer.
Oh, it was a complete accident. So I spent 30 years in the fashion industry in New York City. I actually still have an apartment there, though I pretty much live in my house, my 1890s stone house that was 60s ranchified on 7 acres of land in the beautiful Hudson Valley. And my sister, who lives in Brooklyn and is also a knitter and is also my best friend, also has a house up here right around the corner. And we usually both, I mean, I've had my house up here for about 25 years, and usually at Christmas time, we would both take a week off, come up here, you know, with our respective husbands, and we'd usually plan something to do for a couple of those days. So it might be to, you know, cook a 2-day very elaborate meal or to bake bread. Mm-hmm. And in 2017, I said to my sister, why don't we dye some yarn on our break? And she said, oh, cool, let's do that. I have a little jacquard starter set and some undyed yarn from Knit Picks that I've had for like 3 years. Let's do it. So I spent a couple, you know, weeks just reading stuff on the internet and figuring out how it all works. And she came over one day and I had my whole game plan set out, and I'd say about 2 hours into it, you know, she was wandering around my kitchen reading the backs of cereal boxes and eating snacks, because we have very good snacks here. And finally she said to me, can I go home now? And I was like, yes, get out of my way. And honestly, by the end of that day, I pretty much knew that I was going to be an indie dyer and start a business.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just loved it instantly. So so that was December of 2016. And I decided, I was still working full-time in the fashion industry, but I had kind of a flexible schedule. So I could, you know, I worked remotely a lot and I could come up here for 3 days. And I decided I would spend a year learning, experimenting, developing colors. And if I was still into it in a year, I would launch my business. And a year passed and I was passionately into it. And Then I spent the next 3 months dyeing my opening lineup that I developed over the year.
Yeah.
And I launched my business in March of 2018.
Wow.
Yep. So I was kind of lucky because, as I said, I had a really flexible work situation. So, you know, I could spend time up here, I could work from here. But mostly I spent, you know, that year, you know, just dyeing on the weekends. And then when I opened my business, I was still working full time in the industry. And I would come up here on the weekends. I would spend 2 days, you know, dyeing yarn, photographing yarn, doing marketing stuff. And over the course of 2018, up until, you know, towards the end of 2019, I slowly transitioned out of my job. You know, I basically worked out a plan with the person I worked for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And so I went from full-time to 3/4 time to half-time to a quarter time. And by November 2019, I basically was doing this full-time. And then the pandemic hit. And so my husband and I basically packed the cats in the car and came upstate. And it used to be that this was the house and the apartment in the city was home. And now this is home and the apartment in the city is empty 99% of the time. But I have a rent stabilized apartment in New York City, so I can't give it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but okay. Like Anne clearly does.
Oh yeah. Anybody who lives in New York City, you know, the jealousy is beyond belief.
So that's really interesting. I mean, that's fantastic. You were able to transition pretty seamlessly like that.
Yeah, very. It was really perfect. And you know, I mean, the thing is I spent 30 years in the apparel industry. My background is primarily production, sourcing, and product development. So, you know, I'm used to dealing with large scale things. You know, I'm used to, you know, getting millions of dollars worth of product manufactured. So for me, running a little independent yarn dyeing business, it's not complicated. It was kind of a natural thing.
Yeah, that sounds great. So this is kind of a two-part question that I have for you. One, I'm curious about the name of your shop, Murky Depths. And then two, aside from the name, what makes your yarn and your shop unique?
Well, I will just say that I am not a particularly jolly person. And that's how I'll put it. So I have kind of a dark side, and so I don't remember how it came to me, but Murky Depths just really resonated with me. And I'll show you a little bit of my yarn, and you'll see that there's a couple things that I do, and the thing that I really love doing is creating very complex layered colors.
Okay.
So the murky part, you know, it kind of just, you know, my dyeing style really, you know, my name is kind of perfect for it. Yeah. So, you know, I have a couple things that I really love to do, but for me, you know, it sounds kind of dumb as a dyer to say that for me, everything starts with color, but that's really what it is. So I think a lot about color. I've had a lot of experience analyzing color in my industry experience. And so generally what will happen is, I mean, I literally get colors in my head, and then I will take whatever time it takes to unlock a formula to create that color. So I dye pretty complex colors. I mix all my colors from primaries, and so generally, you know, having worked in the fashion industry for so many years, I kind of approach my dyeing the way that a clothing brand would approach developing a line, which is if I'm introducing a new group of products, what I do is I dye solids first. So I'll spend, you know, whatever time it takes to create a group of solids that to me look good together and coordinate together. So I'll show you a couple. So this is one of my favorite and oldest colors, and it has become an ingredient in so many colors. And so these are just, you know, a few solids that are in my range. And then what I do, I kind of call it granimals for knitters. So when I approach making multis, what I do, so I'll have a range of solids. I like the way they look together. And then what I'll do is I will start creating multis that are made up of those ingredients.
Okay.
And
let me interject this for just a second for people maybe not of our generation.
Yes, granimals.
So granimals, let's just clarify the term for a second. Granimals were like, you could go to Target or whatever big box store.
It was J.C. Penney's.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, you could go to J.C. Penney and you could pick out color coordinated outfits for like your toddler. Like you didn't have to decide what went with what. They were already set up.
I was the toddler, and what they did is what they would do is they would do color stories, and the hang tags were animals. So like you could match any top that had a giraffe hang tag with a bottom that had a giraffe hang tag,
and it would go.
And it would go together. So yeah, so that's what I do. I create granimals for grown-up knitters.
I need that.
Yeah. So for example, I have many colors that are based on this color called Destroyed, which is probably my favorite color. And then I introduce other colors from my solids. So that's one. This is another one. This is another one. And I would say just in this color story based on this one solid color, I probably have 12 colors. So, and also going back to the whole Murky Depths thing, creating various aquatic colors is really probably my favorite thing to do.
That's beautiful. Tell me again the base from that. You mentioned the color was called Destroyed.
Okay.
Yes. I just wanted to clarify that. If I wanted to look that up on your website, I would know what it was called, and I really like that as well.
Yeah. So that's Destroyed, and so I probably have about 12 colors that I've accumulated over the years that are built on that one color. Yeah. And adding other colors in and mixing them. So one of the great things that you can do that is a big part of my business model is that you can make projects. This particular shawl has 5 different colors.
Wow.
All different, all coordinated.
That's lovely.
Yeah. So I do a lot of that. And
what's that pattern? We have to know the pattern.
Okay, so there's actually 2 of them. I'm going to show you the other one a little later, but this is from a designer named Abby E. It's Abby ABBYE Knits. She's actually part of I think it's Wool and Pine they go for design team. And she also designs on her own. This pattern is called Singing Sands Shawl. And it's really brilliant because what she basically did is it's 5 sections. Each one basically uses a skein. They're, about 80, 90 rows long. And each one has a different stitch pattern.
Right. That's lovely.
So it's a lot of fun because you don't really have time to get bored. You know, you knit a skein of yarn, it's one stitch pattern, and just about when you're over it, you're on to the next ball of yarn and the next stitch pattern. She has another pattern that's exactly the same concept, a different 5 stitch patterns. This one is called Moraine, and it's the same concept.
Right.
5 colors, 5 stitch patterns. She even has a section with baubles, and baubles are the best. And I could make endless amounts of these shawls because, well, I mean, they do make great samples because I get to show 5 colors. But they're also a lot of fun to knit. So going back to, so this is basically how I think I build color stories. Here's another shawl in a different base. This is my Harbor singles base. And it's actually some of the same and some additional colors from the same color story. This is actually one of Amba O'Brien's earliest, oh no, it's not. This is by Sweater Freak Knits, and it's called Amber Equinox. Pretty easy lace pattern, and you know, just another way for me to show off. This one has 4 colors.
Right, that's lovely.
Yeah, so that's one of the directions, and probably the one I'm most passionate about, which is my kind of aquatic colors, to the point where, in addition to naming my brand Murky Depths, all of my bases, or most of my bases, also have some kind of aquatic or nautical thing, you know, theme to it. You know, my singles is called Harbor, my worsted is Sanctuary, my Aran is Nautilus. So I kind of keep that theme going a lot.
Do you have a favorite fiber or base that you work with?
Well, I will tell you that I'm a special snowflake. So while I think rustic yarns and woolen spun yarns are very beautiful, and I love yarn with character, I have like a really high itch factor. So as far as what I like to knit, I'm a merino girl. Merino, throw in a little cashmere, put in some silk, I'm good to go. Also, most of my bases are superwash, and again, I love non-superwash yarn, but for what I do, for the techniques that I use and the kind of effects that I'm really into, superwash yarn is not necessary, but a lot of the things that I do aren't really possible on non-superwash wool. Okay. Superwash wool, as I'm sure you know, but maybe not all of your audience knows, one of the things that happens when you dye is that you can get very saturated colors, and also the dyes can strike very fast. So there's a lot of ways you can play with the way that superwash wool attracts dye, and use those as an element of you know, the colors you're creating. You know, as far as personal favorites, as far as bases, I'm a singles girl. I love singles. I particularly love the singles base that I use because it's a high twist single. I know a lot of people avoid using singles because they're worried that we'll pill. And in fact, a lot of singles bases do pill. But the one that I use has an extra high twist to it. It's actually marketed as a single sock yarn. You know, it's sturdy enough that you actually could make socks, though I probably never would. So I use it all the time. I use it for sweaters. I never have pilling problems. And one of the reasons I like it, I mean, I love just the way singles drape, and, you know, I love the effect of it, but because my singles has a high twist to it, there's an added kind of sheen on the yarn, and I basically use that sheen as a color ingredient, as like one more element of the colors that I create. So,
Right.
you know, you get a lot of like reflection off of it because it's not plied. So it's a smooth single surface.
Right.
And I kind of use that as just an added
Element. Yeah.
element. Yeah. So I played with that a lot.
Yeah. So when it comes time then to prepare samples for your yarns, you know, you're going to a show or you just, you know, want to have a way to show
I'm
it.
always
How do you
adding
decide?
samples.
Yeah. How do you
Well,
decide what to do or what project to do to spotlight your yarn?
well, the first thing is I'm very lucky. I have, you know, a list of people who actually knit samples for me, starting with my sister, who's my best friend and knits a lot of samples for me. And then I have a group of people who knit samples for me, you know, who I compensate. So the very first thing is that I knit what I like.
Mhm.
And I have, so primarily as a knitter, I'm a sweater knitter and I'm a large shawl knitter. And I mean large shawls, you know.
Yeah, those were giant. Those were
Yeah,
blankets. Those are great.
Yeah, they're basically blankets, and
Yeah,
I
I
think
love
that
that.
that's the perfect size for
Love it.
for a shawl. So so the first thing is I knit things, or I have samples made of stuff that's what I would want to have.
Mhm.
Obviously, for shawls, and even for sweaters, if I'm going to have someone knit a shawl, if it uses 2, 3, or 4 or 5 colors, that's a bonus, because it's a way for me to go to a trunk show or a show and represent multiple colors at one time.
Right.
You know, there's a little downside to that, because if I have a great sample, but there's a color I no longer want to dye, that sample becomes irrelevant. So sometimes I'm either not using samples that I like, or I have to continue dyeing something that I otherwise would have dropped. The other thing is that I have a particular style. I'm not a young person, and so my particular taste level, I call it contemporary classic. So
Okay.
I like very classic, easy to wear sweaters that have that are not super dramatic, but have something very fashion forward to them about the cut. And that's what I personally wear. So I also, so that's what I make that's what I do for my
Yeah.
samples.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
What do you have coming up for your business in 2022?
I can't even think about 2022. This past, I haven't taken a day off since probably the first week of September, because trunk shows, then I did the Indie Untangled show, Rhinebeck weekend. I'm working on a very enormous wholesale order, which hopefully will go out the door before I head down to the city for Thanksgiving, and working on a few other wholesale orders. I have 4 trunk shows coming up.
Wow.
So right now, this is the time of year. This is the time of year for yarn dyers, yarn sellers, local yarn stores, designers, because everybody's in the mood. So right now, I'm just 7 days a week dyeing as fast as I can.
Wow.
I'm very lucky because I have a husband that does all the shopping, all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the laundry, all the dishes, takes my yarn to the post office. So I'm kind of taken care of.
That's fantastic.
Great.
Yes, that's his full-time job, is to take care of me.
That's great.
And I love it. So I think right now it's really just keeping up with demand. I've got a lot of wholesale requests.
Good.
You know, it's a busy time for my Etsy shop, of course. And the one big goal I have for that I'll probably start working on in January is I've been on Etsy since I opened my business, and it's got a lot of advantages. Primarily that they make it so easy to do business.
Yeah.
You know, it's so little work, from, you know, creating listings to shipping. Everything's super simple. And but you know, the downside of that is that I can't personalize it the way I want.
Right.
I can't, you know, I can't really create a mailing list out of it. So it's been, so I would say that first quarter of 2022, I do plan to build my own website. That's probably my biggest goal. And then the other thing for me is that I'm never like satisfied. I always have more ideas and more ideas and more ideas. I'm not one of those dyers who, I never do pre-orders. You know, it's like, you know, it's there for you to buy. It'll ship within 2 days.
Yeah.
Next time Mr. Murky takes a post office run.
Mr. Murky. I love that.
Yeah. And at any given time, I have approximately 300 different listings live.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's the primary place that people can find you, is your Etsy shop. And we'll definitely put the link. We'll put the link to that down below in the video description.
Perfect. Yeah.
Are you also on other social media like Instagram or
I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is at Murky Depths Dyes.
Okay.
And that's it. I have a Facebook account, but I only created that because it's the only way you can advertise on Instagram. I have logged into Facebook exactly once to set up a Facebook account so I could advertise on Instagram. I do have some various wholesale accounts, but the best way to find me is on my Etsy store, which is Murky Depths, and follow me on Instagram. I'm, you know, I have trunk shows coming up in New York City. I'm going to be going down to Timonium, Maryland in a few weeks. I will be doing another trunk show in Brooklyn, New Jersey. So I'm so busy right now.
And you love it.
Excellent. Excellent.
I do love it. You know, I think that it's, you know, I think it keeps me in shape. Yeah. I don't have to go to the gym. I actually almost never leave my property. You know, I'm on 7 acres. I have a garden. My husband does all the errands and all the shopping. So even in the summer, you know, I would go to the farmer's market on Saturday, but I can go 2 or 3 weeks without stepping off my property.
Hooray for Mr. Murky. That's fantastic.
I love Mr. Murky. Yeah.
Well, we do too, just because of that.
Too. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Everybody needs a Mr. Murky is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Debbie, thanks so much for joining us. That's fantastic.
Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome.
It's very good to meet you. Thank you.